Okay, so we'll have an unofficial meeting, but we'll take minutes, but we won't officially have a quorum, so we'll have to skip doing the
Any votes,
annual
anything
meeting.
that requires a vote, we can't do.
Right, so anything that has a vote, we can't vote today, so we'll just skip anything that is vote worthy.
So under the call to order, would I just put like no quorum?
Yeah,
Yeah.
6:05, no quorum.
yeah. 6:05, no quorum. But we'll still continue like it's a real meeting. We just won't be able to
Yeah.
vote on anything. So we won't be able to do like the annual meeting stuff, basically. But that's, I mean, we'll just do it next month. That's fine. Okay, so that means public comment period. Does anyone from the public want to make a comment not related to something on the agenda? Okay, sounds good. Additional items for the agenda? Anyone have anything additional? Nope. Can we review and approve? We will not do that because of lack of quorum. We will wait and approve those in our next meeting. I do not recall any correspondence. Nope. Okay. And then we'll start with old business. So let's get right to Wildlife Project Partnership with Middlebury College. And we have some of the students and Professor Mikhailo here with us. So we'd like to get an update, see what you've been up to, and also hear from Alex as well. So yeah, what's going on? Sorry, we're not having a quorum, but that happens sometimes. It's pink eye. Everyone has it.
No, it's totally fine. Thanks so much for having us. My name's Eli.
I'm Bailey. I'm Brian.
And yeah, our professor Alexis is here as well, who makes this whole class possible. But we're working with Alex on an effort to map wildlife connectivity throughout Bristol to help you all and help the town inform the 2025 town plan. So thus far we've set up I think at least 16 camera traps right now in 4 different areas across town. And Alex might be able to explain the locations a bit more specifically than we can, but one location is just is quite close to the Bristol Pond access point in a small corridor of land that connects the west side of Hardscrabble Road to the Hogbacks. We have some cameras set up off of Piney Woods Road, a great connection that Alex had kind of in that development area. We have some more that are set up off of Notch Road, and some more that are set up just on the south side of the New Haven River from kind of Prayer Rock area. So those in conversations with Alex were identified as areas of concern that would be worth focusing on to see if animals are passing through, what kind of animals are passing through, to try to inform the work we're doing. I'll stop there.
Cool. And you go
Yeah,
on a
it's kind of
couple
like
times now, is that right? With Alex?
Sorry?
Yep, we've
There we
had
go. Yeah.
two field days and gone out and set camera traps and so on. We're kind of I was thinking about this today a little bit, like we're at like a where do you stop point, I guess, because there's more and more every day. I think of more spots to hang cameras, but we've got a good number in the woods currently and working for us. And I there was the other place that I'd been kind of itching to get to was the north, sort of the northwestern, west northwestern, or sorry, east northeastern part of the watershed center. There's a kind of near the Moncton town line there. There's an area that I was hoping to get some cameras into. I don't know, with you guys being on break, maybe I'll just run in there and hang some next week, and we can all go out together and check it out and check them when you're back or something. But yeah, we've got a good representative set of areas that we're working in right now. I feel pretty good about it. So we had a little bit of a hang up trying to get permission from the Forest Service to hang cameras. It was a little slow to get back to us. So we ended up, like, the first day we went out, we flagged some areas that we were gonna hang cameras, and then went back in later and hung them. And unfortunately, I just went in and put the ones off Notch Road, and we had some kind of cool activity. It snowed up there in the meantime, so I was up there when there was snow on the ground, which is kind of cool. And we had a bobcat walk right by one of our trees while there was no camera on it, which would have been kind of cool. But hopefully he's back around.
That's cool. And then
It's a
the
good sign,
places
though.
you chosen, are those places that you chose based on Alex just knowing the landscape, or was that Alex plus informed by other, I don't know, like BioFinder documents or from Sophie's work or David? Just wondering sort of where these spots all came from.
Yeah, so far these spots have all been just kind of us working with Alex and spots that he's identified as kind of um incremental and like near areas that would be of interest to you all and potentially under threat of new development or loss of habitat. And then we also have like a pretty large amount of data from previous work from other students, David and Lauren, who also did some camera trapping in like the town parks of Bristol mostly. So I think like our one of our big next steps is kind of taking some of that data, incorporating some of our data we're collecting, and also wanting to try to use some like iNaturalist BioFinder data as well. Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
good.
you
Have
mentioned
you read the report by Sophie at the tracking connection? Where she identified like places that needed more work, where when
what
Lauren,
is
she and Lauren went out that day and looked at tracks.
Mhm.
Do you remember this document? There's a lot of documents, I'm sorry.
yeah, we've looked at documents from Lauren and from David.
Okay.
What's Sophie's last name?
Sophie Manowitz, she's a professional tracker, and she went with Lauren and Helen Young one day, and then she was sort of like a deliverable about the location. They drove all over and they looked for prints going across the road, and then she circled places that were like of greatest concern to her. And then some of that should have been like rolled up into Lauren's work, except that we got the final document after Lauren had graduated. So David read some of it and we thought about that, but it was never, we haven't had a student group that really was able to incorporate that work yet. But
We'll make
if
sure
you don't have the document, we can get it to you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That'd
every
be-
time we get together, I keep thinking I need to get that document so we can like identify areas that we could throw some cameras in based off or crossing ideas.
Right.
That should
And
definitely be
I
on.
don't know if those would be that's Department of Transportation because it's so close to the road, or if that would be people's homes. Like I have no idea about that.
Yeah, the
But
private
something to just
landowner
think about.
like element of all this is a one that's sometimes tricky to navigate. But if it would be interesting if there were just to look at that and see if there are sites that are on land that we can either get permission on or were public, or that might like maybe the actual crossing itself is on private, but up the hill a couple hundred yards it's a public boundary, whatever. There may be ways that we can get cameras into those places, and we should definitely I'll remember to I'll email you. I don't think I have that document myself, so I'll write you
Yeah.
after this.
Yeah, I just tried opening it and I can't get to it. She had sent me like a map, an interactive map, and like it requires a login.
Oh, okay.
So
Yeah,
you might
I
need
just tried.
to-
I just tried to do that as well, but I just put in the chat another link to another map that she sent us.
Okay, thank you.
That might
That's
be-
useful.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I
Is
would
there-
say too, with the landowners, the students have been getting signed permission from all the landowners to do their work, which I think has been really important. And so that makes it a little slower, but means that the data will
Totally.
actually be used and
Totally.
can be used safely.
Yeah, we've had pretty good. I mean, two of the three folks that we've approached have been super into it. So it's been I think overall people are fired up by the project, and we haven't run into huge roadblocks in that regard.
Yeah, there's definitely more. Brian did some great BioFinder work that particularly keyed in on the area that we have cameras set up near Bristol Pond. And we're gonna do some more back end work with other literature to justify the placement of our traps. Alex is obviously knows the land really well, so that's been super
Yeah.
key. But I think that it will be all of these areas are key kind of crossing points for
Yeah.
larger areas of priority. So we will definitely justify via literature review and other research why we've been
Yeah,
focusing on
and
these.
those documents Kristen just put in the chat,
Yeah.
those would be, I would really love it if there was a possibility to use some of that information.
Totally.
We really wanted to work with Sophie, we really wanted to work with Middlebury College, and we ended up having her do some sort of preliminary work to set some groundwork for you. And some of those things she found are just great. And I think one of the things that's important about the community too is that, you know, we were having this conversation with our group, which is normally slightly bigger, and we couldn't figure out how to pay Sophie. We really wanted to. We don't have a very big budget. And we were mulling around all these ideas, and really hemming and hawing and trying to come up with some places the funding could come from. And then we got a message that someone had seen the recording of the meeting and anonymously donated the money for that study. And so I just think it's really nice for the community to say, like, I don't know who that person was, but it'd be really nice to use that and not this, oh, we did it and now it's in a drawer somewhere. And I really like to appreciate the money and the work and the thought that went into that. So that's all. It just feels, I don't want that to just die. You know, I'd like that to keep going and help inform this project if possible.
Yeah, thanks for sending those in those docs in the chat, Kristen and Alexis.
Sure.
That you, yeah, super helpful.
Perfect.
There are a couple of other pieces of this project that actually we wanted to discuss with you. One of them, to kind of add to the qualitative side of our data collection, is a survey that we were hoping to roll out to community members, to ask about to just generally ask about their conservation interests in Bristol and how they will prioritize like conservation easements, for example, in the grand scheme of developments in the greater Bristol area, as well as their like general wildlife sightings in the area. I don't know, just like to try to gain some testimonials that can back up community support. And we are in the process of drafting that survey. It'll likely be via Qualtrics. We have approval from the college to be able to send that out into the community and then use those results. But we're trying to think of the best, well, I guess there are two parts of this question. One, do you think that would be effective and would be well received in the community? And two, what would be the best way to distribute it?
The best way to distribute it's got to be Front Porch Forum, right?
Yeah, I would agree.
And then would it be well received? Would people do it? I don't know. Hopefully. I think talking to Porter Knight about that would actually be really good. She sent out, Robert, what was that? Can anyone help me? What was that survey she did about like outside rec or something? Do you remember this? It was, and then she said, like, do you use the parks? And that's kind of where she started going
Yeah.
to some of the accessibility pieces too.
Mhm.
She did some survey like this. Anyhow, and you've met Porter. She's amazing. And I'm sure she'd love to help or give advice on that.
She could also distribute the link to the survey to the full list of Bristol Trail Network members or,
That would be awesome.
folks.
Awesome, yeah. Alexis, we were talking with Alexis and Claire, the other professor, about this today, and we were talking about hanging like QR codes at the post office or in businesses downtown, or I mean, like, however that might work. But then also, like, if you all have an email list, if that would be effective, we of course don't want to add too much bias to who we're distributing this to. So Front Porch Forum might actually be the most neutral method that reaches the most people. So maybe that's just the solution. So cool.
I think if you did want to reach a younger generation, the QR codes hanging in, Mini Factory or the library or something like that would be effective as well.
Maybe.
I've heard the younger folks call Front Porch Forum like old people's Facebook. So I don't think there's a lot of youthful energy on Front Porch Forum. So the combination of the two might be a nice combo.
Yeah. We could maybe have Zach give it to the students, the hub or something too.
Great idea.
Yeah, we'll reach out to Porter too. That's
right.
Nice.
And if you want younger people or help with distribution, I think Zach is did you meet Zach and Meredith? They had said they were gonna be available, but then okay. So Meredith is Meredith McFarland is the director of the rec department, and then Zach is the assistant director, and I'm sure they would be also good people to, they care about, getting people outside and thinking things. So, and they do a lot of programming with the youth. So I'm sure they would be able to help you. If you had a QR code, they could help disseminate that to some of the students they work with at the high school and stuff. So they're at the rec department.
Cool. And then the other piece was we were in conversation with Alex, talked about how putting some of our like the data we've collected both in Bristol and just via research into a brochure that can be distributed to homeowners to kind of spread the word about the value of backyard habitat and what might be living in their backyards that they might not see in a kind of a citizen science community outreach type way. As I said, we talked about making a brochure like in person piece of paper, but then also maybe a story map, which I know, Carolyn, you are quite well versed with.
I just
That's
made
something
a
that we
fancy
want.
story map for the last like 6 months. So.
Right, yeah. In talking to Alex, we're discussing making a couple perhaps for different target audiences. Some for like longtime Bristol residents, some for new transplants, some for hunters. We're just throwing names out here. But if you all have any feedback or ideas about this, that'd be great.
Yeah. Okay. If you want to get some good drone shots of the landscape of Bristol, Ian Albinson would give you some. He is on the select board and he just did the town report and he took a bunch of really beautiful pictures for that. I'm sure he'd give those to you if you wanted graphical stuff for your story map.
Love it. Okay.
I've been kind of doing like informal polling about this, and like, you know, I'm in and out of new transplants and new folks building homes all the time, right? And I always kind of ask about this because it's been the little part of this project that I've kind of gotten real fired up about the potential impact of. And I think the interest is overwhelmingly there. I mean, especially folks buying new properties for the first time in rural areas, which is a very common thing these days around here. They're like, at least the small subset of people that I've talked to are so interested in information about what might be going on their new 40-acre piece of woods, and like how to get it to them and target it to them, in ways that it gets to the right folks that are interested and so on. That I am less sure of, but the interest, I really think the interest would be there for that kind of thing, and it also just has like such impact, such potential for positive impact, in just giving people information that they can use to make their own personal management decisions.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not telling anybody what to do, but to say, if you don't brush hog that little area, this is what might be using it. This one might live there. Like that is, I think, means something to people, to a lot of people.
Yeah, I really like the combination of having a printed pamphlet and also the online accessibility. Porter Knight leads a small group that brings a welcome to Bristol package to new homeowners, folks that have recently purchased homes or moved into Bristol. And it has, sample stuff from local businesses, but we could easily tuck that pamphlet in those welcome bags. And maybe realtors, if we just handed a stack of brochures to realtors, they could take it upon themselves to make that available to new folks.
Yeah, and there's also a whole brochure wall in Holly Hall. I don't know how often those get picked up by people, but there's like a brochure wall and right there when you go in the town office. And also the library often has some space on counters and things for brochures too.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Well, I'm sure you heard Porter with her Bristol enthusiasm, but she hands all these bags and they say like what is it? It's like Bristol, best town ever, right?
Ever.
Yeah.
I think I've seen T-shirts that say that too.
Yeah, that's all Porter.
I'm kind of jealous. I want one.
Yeah, no.
All you got to do is buy a house in Bristol.
No
I
big
still
deal.
haven't got my bag.
Yeah,
Oh,
there
really?
you go.
It's been 2 years and I'm still bitter.
Well, you just gotta
No
talk to
bag.
Porter. Maybe you got skipped somehow on accident, Okay, well, that sounds amazing. What else? What other questions? Do we answer everything? I don't remember anymore. I think we got distracted.
Yeah, I think we're all set with the questions we had, but if you have any other feedback or ideas, information you want us to gather, I think that other map and like background work will be really helpful too, especially kind of thinking about how we're gonna create a map of this and some sort of representation that is accessible.
Yeah, if you all have any specific priorities, like for how we convey information to to the town, to the zoning commission, pieces that we include in that report were all ears. After all, it's this is in partnership with you all, so yeah.
Yeah, I think that I really like the way, as Kristen said, how you have these different ideas, like there's digital pieces, there's pamphlet pieces. But yeah, in terms of like a final report or deliverable, I mean, you've seen the town plan, so you know the kinds of text ends up in there. People work on it. Some parts of it are redone. Some parts aren't redone every 5 years or so. I think the Addison County Regional Planning Commission did a big overhaul on the sections that are most pertinent to what we do. They did a lot of the writing on that. So Andrew LaRoe, I think, wrote that. Isn't that right?
Yeah.
As
No,
in
Andrew, that's
Professor LaRoe in geography. So Andrew wrote that, and he's an ecologist who works full-time with the Addison County Regional Planning Commission. He does, I don't think he does mapping though, but he does a lot of he does a lot of writing, I know, because we end up with pieces of writing of his a lot. And so you want to talk to him about the kind of language and the kind of ways to present things that would be useful, because I think that's really in their wheelhouse, where they professionally do a lot of those pieces for Addison County.
Yeah, I think ideally, if there's text in this report that could even be lifted and placed in pertinent sections of the town plan, it ends up becoming enabling language for various planning and zoning strategies. So for example, we might work with the planning board to create, say, an overlay district that would be protective of high traffic wildlife corridors. That's one example of a product that could come out of this. And so to the extent that your report provides that sort of enabling language that would support that kind of a strategy, that would be very helpful.
That's a great
that sounds
idea.
great.
Yeah.
We'll reach out to Andrew for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, he'd be a key resource for helping you think about enabling language.
And if you're interested in mapping, I forgot who. He just sent me a link to someone else to talk about mapping stuff that's over in their group as well. So I'm sure if you hooked up with them and in general, I bet they could help you find other resources.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
And
I
maybe
also
even other
spoke with,
overlays, things they've done already on these topics. I'm sure they could
yeah,
help you
for
put it
sure.
together.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I spoke yesterday with Jeff Howarth too, a professor in the geography department who's been doing this similar work for for Cornwall. And he also worked with Sophie to kind of do some of the trapping and had similar kind of transect lines from that. And he's been able to incorporate that into a really nice layout. And so I think, yeah, using kind of some of that work as a model will be helpful for some of the mapping side of things too.
That would be awesome. Yeah. And then I had a question for you. So at the end of the semester, you're going to give a short presentation in Hillcrest about the project, right? And then we wanted to know, we thought we might set aside our May meeting, which would be, let me make sure I get the date right. May, be the second Thursday in May, so it'd be the 9th. So we wanted to know if on that May 9th, which I think you would be giving your talk on the 9th, I believe, or the 7th, depending on when your group goes.
For the 9th.
So we were wondering if on the 9th, then, if you could come to the BCC meeting, and we would dedicate the meeting to talking to you, and we could advertise in the community about like, oh, we're going to have these Middlebury students presenting about wildlife. You'll maybe remember that survey you all filled out. We'll have the results, we'll have some maps, we'll have, right, and there can be several small topic, maybe you could have different people could do different 5-minute presentations or 10, whatever it is you want to do. Would that be something you want to do? Because
Yeah.
okay. And it could
Sorry,
be
I'm
on
not
Zoom.
speaking for everybody.
It could be on Zoom, but we were thinking that then, you could have the talk you do with the school earlier that day, but then at like 6 to 7 or so, we could invite people to come join on Zoom and hear about what you've been doing. And we could even say, when we send out the survey links, presentation will be on this on May 9th, at 6 o'clock in the BCC meeting or something. Something like
Cool.
that, maybe to get the word out then, so people feel connected. They sent a survey and then they get to hear about it too. Might be nice to close the loop.
Yeah, I think that'd be great. And like a cool way to present to you all too, and like explain. I mean, hopefully our deliverables are pretty self-evident, but also walk through what we've done and explain kind of each element.
Yeah. Yeah, so maybe we could do something, and I don't know the exact details of how you want to run through it, but we could just throw that around. You know, we meet from 6 to 7:30 once a month. So maybe that May meeting we dedicate entirely to talking to you about the different components you've all done and having kind of a longer presentation than what you did at school that gets into more of the details that the community might want to hear. And us as the BCC as well. And you can play with those ideas and like bounce them off me or whatever as we get closer to the date. But I wanted you to know we were imagining that happening. I wanted to let you know so you have 2 months to imagine that with us.
No, I think that'd be great.
Yeah.
To have it actually go to the community would be cool too.
Yeah.
And I as you mentioned in your email, I think we will try to reach out to the Addison Independent as well. If
Oh
you still think
yeah.
it's-
If you email me, I'll find that person's name.
Okay.
I don't remember who it was anymore, but it's in my email. I'll find it.
We also probably pump the survey with them, maybe.
Yeah, we got a lot of results here.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, fantastic.
Cool. Thank you so much. This is awesome. And Alex, you've been doing so much work. You've even been
It's
answering.
been a blast.
You've been answering emails. It's insane.
I can answer emails under certain circumstances.
Now I just know my emails are boring.
Yeah. Well, we are awfully fortunate to have this group of students to work with because they've got a lot of spunk and knowledge, and I've really enjoyed working with you guys.
Yeah,
We're gonna
I've-
come up with
Yeah,
some
likewise.
stuff.
I've already been really impressed with how seriously you're taking the project and how you've been really dedicated. And there's 5 people and they're all working really hard. And I've been really impressed with just the way the class is structured and the energy you've brought to this already. It's really cool.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
well,
really,
thanks
really
for,
cool class too, just in general. A lot of great voices involved in this class. It's a cool thing in the first place.
So thank you for taking this required class.
You betcha.
Anytime.
But yeah, that's all the things I had listed for this agenda item. Did anyone else have anything they want to say before we say goodbye to the Middlebury students? I mean, you're allowed to stay, obviously, but we can move on. Yeah, Nancy.
Could you guys just in the chat write your first and last names for the minutes?
You bet.
Thank you.
Yeah, and there, as Carolyn just said, there are 2 more of us that couldn't make it tonight, but
Do I put them in the minutes though? Because they're not here, right?
No.
Okay. So just the 3 of you.
maybe their
please.
last name.
How are you?
Thank you.
Yep.
Thanks.
Thank you. Yeah, no, it's great to talk to more of you. Alex is great to talk to as well.
Yeah.
We have great chats walking through this, but yeah.
That sounds perfect.
Thanks for making all this possible.
Yeah. Kristen was
I
on
was
last
just
comment.
I had met up with Bob Galvin, who's another or whatever I am in this class, and we were talking about how great it's been and how great the kids in both of our groups are, and it's been cool. We got together and talked hunting and ethics last night. It was fun.
Nice.
That's great. All right. Any last thoughts? Alexis, anything you wanted to add?
I don't think so. They've just been doing a lot of hard work, and I'm really excited to see what they come up with.
Oh yeah, I heard you had a team name and a logo, by the way.
Oh, they do.
Or do. Yeah, we're called Bristol Wild Ways. That's
Cool.
my stock. And we do have a logo.
Are we getting stickers too? Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
We'll send the logo. Just kidding.
We'll get you a Bristol Best Town Ever T-shirt in exchange for a Bristol Wild Ways T-shirt. How about that?
That sounds great.
Yeah.
Yeah. I actually really like that idea. We should make it.
It's a cool logo. You got to do
I
something.
know. Yeah. As far as I know, Porter controls all those things. So she's a really good person to talk to for many reasons, you know. I'm glad you got to meet her. Okay, cool.
Yeah,
Well, then
no, that's great.
we're gonna move on, unfortunately, because we do have other things to talk about. But
No, of
but
course.
yeah, thank you so much. And yeah, you can stay on if you want, or you can listen to us talk about parks, whatever works for you. If you'd like to stay and hear about Bristol, that's fine. Or you can get out of here. I know you're excited for spring break, so don't have to hang out.
Well, thanks for having
Yeah,
us.
thank you.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Hi, everyone.
See you guys later.
Thanks.
See you later.
Okay, so that's awesome. They're so cool.
Mhm.
So much hard work.
Aw.
Alex, I'm so happy that you're happy and it's going so well.
I regret exposing myself to someone that can answer emails, but I'm having a lot of fun.
We'll have to forget that when the project's over. Okay, cool. So let's talk parks.
Mhm.
Okay. Any updates on Eagle construction? Wasn't there something with that?
Yeah, so they finished the spring list of remaining tours. So it looks really good. I went down there during the high water over last week and it was fine. They created some stair steps down to the water from the ramp itself, which had been there before. So those are restored. It's joined to the platform now in the correct way. The two poles or posts were cut off to a final height and there'll be caps on those. The split rail fence is supposed to be in place by April 1st. That's the last piece. One of the last tasks as well was to go in and pull all the very small stone that lined each side of the concrete ramp and replace it with much larger stone and then fill the voids with that small stone. So that all of that was completed and it looks good. So our last remaining task would be to think about what to do for the perennial garden. What they ended up doing was like leveling off that area and then putting down straw mulch or hay mulch just for erosion control. I would imagine some of the perennials are going to start to try and peek back up through that material. We'll have to see, but we're definitely going to need a work day there. My
They
thought
put grass
was
seed on it.
they did not. I don't
Okay.
believe they put grass seed there. My thought was we have an opportunity to rethink the perennial garden in this location because if future repairs are needed, access to the ramp will again destroy the perennial garden. So this is a moment where we could think more carefully or strategically about the perennial garden and replacing that in a different location, maybe that has less chance of being damaged in future repairs. So that I just wanted to bring that up.
Yeah, that seems like a good idea. I feel like lately Helen has done a lot with the garden projects.
Yeah.
And Jono's done an awful lot of work on that garden.
Yeah, and it may be something where we just want to schedule a work day to just convene on site and have a discussion about what the options are.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
But it will need a work day as well as, I see we have on the agenda that Sycamore Park will need a work day. So
Yeah, well, that was the workday debrief, but no one that was at that workday is here to debrief us.
okay, got it.
Yeah, yeah. That was because they did a workday with it was
You're
it was
right.
supposed to be, I think, I'm not sure, I wasn't there. I believe it was Helen and Jono and Meredith,
Yeah, I think
right?
you're right.
Do you remember that? But then I never
It
heard
was
of
a
it.
Monday. Yeah.
So I just put debrief, but then they aren't here to debrief. Unless Nancy, you weren't there, were you?
Mm-mm.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that'll just have to go on to April.
Yeah. But on our calendar, we should plan for a spring work day at Eagle Park.
Oh yeah. Yep. And then we need to add, well, actually we need a site visit to discuss the garden.
Yeah,
And then we need to have, maybe we could even, honestly, we could just have one person go and take photos. And then
mhm.
we could talk about it in a meeting with the photos. Would that be something you could do? Would that be
I
okay?
already have the photos.
Okay, what if we just discuss for next, in April?
Yeah.
Gosh, that April meeting is getting busy.
Packed, yeah.
It's getting packed because we have David Branham is gonna come and Meredith about Frisbee.
Right,
But this is important stuff. So, okay, April, we'll see. If it gets too crowded, I can always just ask David if he can come in June or something. Like, we'll
yeah,
just have to figure
because
it out.
that's not particularly timely. I mean,
No, yeah,
yeah.
it's already happened. So now it's just would like to be filled in. It's not, yeah.
Yep.
Okay, April, and I asked him to do it earlier this year, and he said that he was too busy. So,
Mhm.
he had said around April, so it's not a full confirm. But anyhow, April, let's look at photos
That sounds fun.
of the garden.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then we can like decide next steps.
Mhm.
And then we should also add a work day to the calendar.
Yeah.
We might be able to schedule that in April then,
Mhm. I
right?
agree.
Schedule at that meeting. That'd be great. Okay, I added all those things to remind myself that that's next meeting then. Okay, cool. Because yeah, if you have the photos and then we could share screen and go through them, or we could have a PowerPoint that people could cruise through themselves or something, and then we could talk about, oh, from
So,
photo A, this location or something, something like that. I don't know.
yeah, I think that should work well.
Okay. Then we can just have that during our meeting, and then we'll have a work day or maybe two, or we'll just have to decide how ambitious this is going to be at that
Mhm.
meeting. Okay. That sounds good. Also Zach isn't here either, so we don't have a full debrief on other parks. We're gonna move the Sycamore Workday site visit debrief to April. Pollinator Garden, I have a little comment, just that Helen was worrying about or asking about how to attach the signs to posts. You probably saw those emails. Porter had told me previously that she could use her she has interns, she has UVM interns this semester. So she said the
Mhm.
interns would be happy to work on pollinator garden stuff and they could attach those and do that. Helen asked me if we had funds for that. Did anyone else get this email or was this just between the three of us at this point? I don't remember if we kept replying all or not, but
Yeah.
so they asked, so then Helen asked if we had any funds. With Anthony leaving, his departure as treasurer, the town didn't have a treasurer for, I don't know, 4 or 5 months. I really don't know the timeline. And in that time, I asked Valerie what our budget is, and she said that our budget was spent for the year, which I said was impossible. And she said, well, you can ask Chris Purley. He's volunteering to help out. And then I never heard back. And I'm sure it's really, really hectic without a treasurer. I have since heard through the grapevine we have a treasurer now.
Mhm.
But I wonder if we need to buy things for if it's worth arguing or if it's worth just saying we'll use the the stock fund if we need something for the remainder of the year. I'm not really sure why that. I have ideas. I think that the tracking connection thing was supposed to go on last year's budget. I'm guessing it went on this year's budget. I don't know what happened.
Probably.
That's my
Yeah.
guess is what happened. After we were assured it wouldn't, I'm pretty sure then there was the transition with treasurer and that fell through the cracks. That's my guess.
Yeah.
I don't have any proof.
I think it makes sense to use the Edith stock funds
Yeah,
because
I figure they're so
pollinators
busy.
have a connection to birds and it's at Sycamore Park and
Yeah, I feel guilty wasting their time over like a couple $100, honestly, right? I'm sure they're very busy. So yeah, I was thinking maybe Helen had asked me if I could bring that up and ask you if you thought it'd be okay to use the stock fund for I don't know how much it would be. I'm guessing,
yeah,
somewhere.
less than $100, I'm sure. Yeah.
So yeah, I just want to make sure we were all on board with that. Or whoever's here was on board.
Yeah. And it,
That just seemed to make
Yeah.
sense. And I just felt bad bothering
And
Valerie.
it's just the pole to put the sign on?
Or I think Porter wanted to make a hole and pour concrete and then put in a stick and then put the sign on the stick. And then if we want to get rid of it, we could just dig the whole thing up someday.
yeah.
Because she
Okay.
was like, that would be the most permanent way we could stick it there.
Oh, okay.
But then they got stuck on this funding question. I said I would just ask
Yeah.
because we don't really have.
I think that makes sense.
I just feel bad. They must be so hectic right now, you know.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll email Helen and Porter and tell them we can use that money.
One other update on parks when we're
Yeah.
ready. At the select board meeting on February 26th, the select board voted to hire Du Bois and King. They were one of 6 respondents to put in a proposal for accessibility at Eagle Park, Sycamore Park, and Memorial Park. So at that meeting a couple weeks ago, they chose Du Bois and King to do that work.
And can you remind me on where we are in that process? This was people that were they're going to write up a plan, but they're not going to implement it. Is that right?
They're gonna review and do site inspections at all 3 parks and engage various citizens, including the Bristol Conservation Commission and other folks in outreach meetings to think about or conceptualize what could be possible at each of these parks. And then
Okay.
they're gonna draft up like a concept drawing for each of the parks. And it's got a fairly tight timetable. It's happening this spring and summer. So we should start to hear about that pretty soon.
Okay, cool. Thank you. That's a good update. Any other park updates? No? Okay. Okay, No May planning updates? I don't know because we don't have that debrief, which is where they talked about it. Unless anyone heard anything about it.
No, I didn't hear anything about the debrief. I've been thinking about it. And I feel like we should kind of more like focus on educating people in doing residential area and not so much worrying about the parks. I feel like people use our parks and parks aren't necessarily equal to like green space in like on a college campus, you have like just an open area that no one walks in, like awesome, don't mow that, leave that. But I feel like the parks are used and they should be mowed because people use them in that grass. So maybe like focusing more energy on educating the public on their own lawn, like their own residential property, and either no mow there, different parts, if they don't want to necessarily not mow, like myself, because of ticks and kids and dogs, and I don't like the grass that long. Maybe focus on how to add, pollinator friendly plants to their garden and help that way instead.
Is that something we could do for outreach at Green Up Day table?
Yes.
Yeah, I love the idea of education about alternatives for people that aren't going to not mow, because I think that's a reasonable percentage of the folks we're communicating with. And if there are ways that they can help pollinators through their own, gardens and so on, that'd be great information for them to have. I'd love to know more about that myself too.
Yeah, I don't know a lot, but yes, I feel like that would be information people could use. Because also it extends, I feel like helping the pollinators instead of just like May. Like, well, bees, we're only going to help you in May, and then the rest of the summer we don't care about you.
Right?
So
Yeah, that sounds good. I think as like a baby step towards that goal though, right? Having the no-mow signs to hand out at Green Up Day, and then having some other information, maybe even having, if we had enough stuff, we could have like one like a no-mow table and the Green Up Day table, like hand up, here's your stuff. Oh, did you like learn about no-mow practices? Like no one likes to mow their lawn. Talk to the person next door who's 2 feet away, we could do some of that if you wanted. That's an easy way to get people like right there and snag them. Also thinking about like from Porch Forum is like sending some links to like, hey, here's a cool idea
yes.
about what you can do, That sounds good. And yeah, and then in terms of the parks, we'll just have to wait to hear from Meredith or Jano or Helen, I guess.
Mhm.
Other thoughts on that? Okay, well, Nancy, if you want to do like a little research and find some, I'm sure there's like materials online you could find, right?
Yes, yeah.
Grab those. Okay, that would be cool. Green Up Day? Green Up Day is happening. I just got an email today that I didn't even really read very closely, but I think they got the supplies in and I can pick those up in the next few weeks. So yeah, that's all I know so far. I think we'll do the same thing we did last year where we'll have the pickup at Holly Hall, this sort of babysat by the rec department, and then we'll do the table like the morning of on May 4th. Because that seems to work really well. We've been on that for years, except for COVID. So it'll be nice it's nice to see people and hand out the bags and do all that. So that'll be good, I think. But yeah, there's not too much about Green Up Day that's happened. I was hoping for more emails, but I think that may be hitting in the April meeting again. So we'll just sort of see. But I think for now, I'll plan to be there. And if anyone else wants to join at that table or sit out that morning, that'd be great. But
I'll be there probably.
that's right. Now I volunteered you for your own table. So
Yes.
you're like, you did, yes. So yeah, that would be great. And then we have this new tool. Sorry, so Green Up Day, that's all I've got. I don't have a lot on Green Up Day right now. Okay. Vulnerability Mapping Index. There was a new tool that was released that John wanted to tell us about, but he's not here. So I don't know anything about that tool. That was a agenda item I had added about what he had talked about. And then we are still looking for one new member. But yeah, that's just standing item we've sort of had there. I kind of put it there on purpose so anyone who's read it will be like, oh, I could like maybe if someone bothers to read the agenda, they could see themselves in that spot. And then we have two things under new business, if we're okay to move to new business. We're good with that? Okay. New business then, public personas. This is a really awkward way of saying, did anyone have any comments or did Alex have any comments? Because you were really worried about coming across wrong in the VT digger. I just want to make sure we had a moment to talk about that since you seemed concerned at the time in the email. And I thought we could just, I'm sure you did your best to talk as a private citizen. You said they just mentioned that you were in the Conservation Commission in the byline and you were worried about our what had the BCC officially said versus your opinions.
Yeah, so the only reason I was nervous about that is I was weighing in on something that's pretty hot right now, and I didn't I totally didn't intend there to be any thought that like the Bristol Conservation Commission was weighing in on that, because that is very much not the place of the Bristol Conservation Commission. That said, I haven't heard any sort of. I mean, I don't think that anything. I think I was more nervous about that connection being made than was necessary.
Okay. And now you've just publicly said it in a recorded, publicly announced meeting, so that's fine.
Yeah. My views are my views.
I just want to make sure if you felt you wanted to say anything on that, that's fine.
No,
and then in the future, yeah, if you do something, just try to be clear if it's a official stance or of the town or if it's a private opinion. That's
yeah, I wasn't even like beginning to think about that when I was talking to them. They just like wanted some background on me, and I started rambling as I do, and that was one of the things that got rambled out among others, and that was what they got.
I've wondered that about Front Porch Forum even, right? Because you can say if you're on a commission as like a tag on your posts, but then I feel weird if I'm like, old socks, come and get them for free, Conservation Commission, right? Like I would hate to have that tag on everything I put on Front Porch Forum. I don't think anyone currently has that tag I've seen. I think some maybe 5 or 6 years ago a lot of those guys did, but I don't think anyone has that on there now. So anyhow, I just wanted to let you have a moment to speak to that because you said
yeah, no, it was I thought it was scarier than it was.
And then the other piece of new business is our annual meeting, which we will need to defer until we have a quorum. Oh man, now we gotta do that too. Okay, now I really do think maybe we ask David
Ask David
did
to
not
move.
come
Yeah.
speak that day. That may be getting out of hand. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially if we're gonna have last minute green up day or no mo stuff to talk about too. So
Mhm.
I'll ask him if he would mind postponing that until June or the beginning of when we reconvene after some vacations in fall, maybe. As you said, it's not pressing.
Sounds good.
Okay, and then our next meeting would be April 11th at 6 o'clock in Holly Hall with a Zoom option. And then yeah, and I figure we'll do some of the things we weren't able to do in our meeting, and then we'll add in Meredith wants to talk about Frisbee, and we'll have a few more details about the various pieces that people were here to speak about, or the pieces that will be upcoming in May, because we won't have a real May meeting, it sounds like, if we have the students take over like we'd planned. So so does that make sense to everyone?
Yeah.
Okay, I
Yeah.
just want to make sure I'm not like forgetting something. Okay, and that sounds good then. We don't need to adjourn because we never started because we don't have quorum. So this meeting never happened. So that's it. How do you feel? Are we good?
Sounds good.
Okay.
Back to shoot rocking.
Yeah, good luck.
Yeah, right.
I hope you don't have to sleep on the couch with the drywall tomorrow.
I'm so screwed.
Um,
I've been very good trying to touch my eye this whole time. I've like occasionally touched my glasses, but I haven't touched my
Well, it
eyes.
helps with the glasses because you can't like
I know,
touch
because
it.
I bonk
Yeah.
into it and I'm like, oopsies, yeah. I know, it's been 2 days. I've been wearing glasses just like a lunatic. Everyone in the building is like, no safety glasses. I'm like, I have big eye. These are for you, not for me. Like, I'm keeping it in the safety glasses.
Yeah.
Oh man, it's bad. Anyhow, good luck, Nancy. Hope you and Harvey don't get it too.
Well, Harvey had it
Oh, did he?
a couple weeks ago, but I think so. I mean, it has all the symptoms,
yeah.
but it lasted like 2 or 3 days. And it was over the weekend, and it wasn't bad enough that I was like, we'll go to the ER. And so by Monday morning, it was all cleared up and he never like had any pain. So,
Awesome.
and we didn't get it. So that was lucky. But
Oh.
everyone else has, like everyone I know has had it.
I know.
A colleague at work has it, and they're over in the Warren School District.
Oh,
So
really?
it's over the mountain, even. Yeah.
Well, and now Zaylee's taking it to Nebraska, so it's
That's
just
right.
Right? It's going rampant.
That's right. She dragged it all the way out west now.
the new pandemic. It's just spreading.
That's what we get for leaving our pods, you know.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Well, it was really nice hanging out with all of you for our unofficial meeting. And I hope I'll see you officially in April.